Hello, my ambitious women, and welcome to another Training Tuesday. It is fantastic to be here with you tonight. We are here tonight to talk about the CEO mindset, what it is, what it means, how you get there. So I'm very excited about this. I am going to mention before we just kind of dive into the CEO story, though, that I am also very happy that the weather has changed. We've had a bizarre few days of weather because over the weekend we were down to like -20, -12. We creeped up to 8 degrees, and then by Monday we were up at 40. So go figure. It's making my nose run. Like, I think I have some allergies related to this. So I literally sneezed just before coming live. I think I'm good for now. We'll see how tonight goes. So, tonight, CEO mindset, what it's all about, what are we going to do with it? And hello, Joyce, it is good to see you. For those of you who are new and haven't joined us before, welcome to Training Tuesday. We are here every Tuesday night to talk about themes on leadership and building confidence, advancing towards your goals, and really anything and everything that helps you move your career and your life forward and upward. My name is Natalie Hahn. I am CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, and you are in our private group, Accelerating Leadership for Professional Women, and we are happy to have you here. So the way that Training Tuesday goes is I share a training tip with you, and I'm very excited to see what Joyce and Jackie are doing, which is saying hello in the chat. Say hello, say where you're from, join in the conversation, ask questions as we go along if you have them, share your ideas, share your experiences. That is what this forum is for. And if you are watching this on the replay, please do the same still, because I do go back and read the comments. So share your experiences, share your thoughts, ask your questions. All right, so we're going to talk about the CEO mindset, and I wanted to start with why this mindset shift is so important for us to make, and it's a conscious move. It is a conscious move for women. Hey, Jill, how are you? It's good to see you. So when we think about the patterns we are raised with, so think about the way that we grow up, right? As young girls, we're put in school, and we learn certain patterns in school. And those of you who've joined my Training Tuesdays are probably sick of hearing this, but this pattern is kind of the presets, right? It is our preset dials for how we live our lives, and we are the ones responsible for acknowledging that and going back and changing it. So when you think about the presets in our lives, we've been trained to go to school. We've been trained to make good grades, because good grades means the teachers are happy with us and our parents are happy with us. And so it creates a pattern. Those patterns we learn in school about listening and giving the teachers what they want and getting along with our classmates take us into college. And it also takes us into our early career, right? This is where we learn to do what the boss wants us to do, to be a great team member, to get along, right? To get along, to put our feelers out constantly for what's happening, how should we respond, make sure that we respond in a way that makes everybody happy, and get along. But part of this preset pattern also is, as we grow up and we go to school and we get that job, a lot of times a typical pattern is we get married, we have kids, and we're on autopilot. When you think about that, a lot of our lives and the expectations for our life is really on autopilot, because they're expectations, and they're expectations set by other people, by society, right? By culture. So we aren't raised, right? All these patterns that have set us up as we've been growing up, we aren't raised to do what we want, when we want it, how we want it. We are raised to be reactive. We are raised to be responsive. And that is how we survive. That is how we get along and go along. Hey, Sue, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So when I use the phrase CEO, right, that role, when I say be a CEO, drop for me in the chat, what does that mean to you? When you think of the role CEO, who is that person, or how does that person behave? Drop for me, like, what are some of the characteristics or attributes of that role? How do you see this person? Is it intimidating? Are you already one? Is this somebody who's confident? Somebody who's pushy, right? What is that role to you when you think about who a CEO is and how a CEO shows up? How do they walk in the room? Yep, confident and in charge. Absolutely, Joyce. Strategic. Yeah, that's true. They got to put their brains behind things. Anything else you think of? There was no right or wrong answer. I was just curious where your mindset is when you think about what it means to be a CEO. Visionary. Excellent, Sue. Visionary, responsible leader. All right. Actually, those are great. Those are some great phrases, great places to start. When we start to take charge of our lives, to actually hold ourselves completely accountable and responsible for the choices we make, then it's a shift. It's a huge mindset shift as well as a behavioral shift. But the behaviors don't shift until the mind does. Jackie, empathetic and caring for those. Yeah, there's some responsibility involved, right, in being a CEO. We have some responsibility towards those who are in as CEO, right? Those who are in our care, those who are employed by us, however you phrase that, right? So when we start to make this change, it can be very uncomfortable. Becoming the CEO of your life, stepping into a CEO mindset and a CEO role means you are choosing your direction. You are choosing your direction based on what you want. You are choosing your direction based on the vision that you have for yourself. You are choosing your direction based on what you think is best for yourself, for your organization, whether that organization is your family, your extended family, or just yourself. You are choosing your direction for those within that unit. And in choosing that direction, you're already putting a place marker out there for what your future looks like. But when you choose this, when you consciously choose this, instead of going along with the flow, of falling into those patterns of this is what's expected of my life, therefore these are the things that I do. When you do that, now you have to be prepared to walk away. You have to be prepared to let go of those expectations. One of the reasons why it is so hard for women to get divorced, for example, one of the reasons it is so hard to make that decision, even when you know it's the best thing for you, for your mental health, for your emotional health, for your physical safety, even when you know it's the best thing for your kids. Why is that so hard? It's hard because we're breaking a social expectation that when you get married, you stay married. And yes, I know how high the divorce rate is. Believe me, I'm one of the casualties. But that doesn't, a number doesn't take away from the stigma that I failed at this and it's supposed to be forever and I'm supposed to make it work and there's all these other fallouts and I will have failed. So, and that's just one example. When you make a choice to own the direction of your life, you end up walking away from things. You end up letting go of things. And one of the things we have to let go of is the expectations of other people, what they want from us, what they think, let me reemphasize that, what they think we're supposed to have, we're supposed to do, or who we're supposed to be. And when you make this conscious choice and you walk away or you let go, something else happens. You have to set boundaries. You have to set new boundaries around the life that you are creating and that you are choosing. And then you have to manage the consequences of those boundaries. How fun are boundaries? Right? How fun are boundaries? We look at them as such a, we look at them as kind of a negative thing of we're either trapping things in or we're keeping things out. We're limiting things, right, when we think about boundaries. But the truth is, boundaries are your gateway to freedom. They are your gateway to your accountability, control, and freedom. That is another Training Tuesday. Tonight we're going to stay focused on CEO. So, yeah, exactly, Jackie. Boundaries are our biggest protector. Boundaries is what allows you the freedom to create the life you want. Boundaries is what allows you to be that CEO and run your life the way you have decided it should be. With your strategic plan, with your vision, your confidence, and your direction. Okay, so what happens? Let's just take a moment. What happens if you don't? What happens if you don't decide to own the role of CEO? What then? What are the consequences of not being the CEO of your life? You all know what it is because some of us have lived it a long time and some of us may still be living it. And you nailed it, Jackie. You don't get what you want. Absolutely, Joe. Loss of control. What happens in that? Drift. Yeah, Sue, that's exactly right. We go along. What do we drift to? We drift to what other people want from us, right? We lose control because we've handed it to other people. We don't get what we want because we haven't defined it. We haven't defined it, we haven't claimed it, and we haven't set the boundaries out to protect it. So when we do not own the role of CEO of our lives, we let other people make the decisions for us. And we follow the pattern of going along to get along, following the expectations. We don't get what we want. We may not even know what we want. When we don't step up to being the CEO, we let other people push our buttons. We talked about button pushing a few weeks ago, right? But we do. We let other people push our buttons and then we just react and respond. Because that's the mode we are the most comfortable in. Because that's the mode we've been trained in. The other thing that happens, and this is what happens especially with that button pushing, our gremlins run the show. When we don't step up as CEO, the gremlin voice, the imposter voice, the inner critic, whatever you want to call it, but that voice in your head that gets way, way down in there sometimes and says, if you were smarter, you would have made a different choice. If you were better at your job, you would have been promoted sooner. If you had more willpower, you'd have lost that weight by now, right? That negative voice in your head that beats you up for things, that's the voice that reacts and then makes the decisions for how you go forward. Because it's reacting to expectations. It's reacting to the button pushing. And it's driving your course of action. Instead of the CEO version of you, it's the gremlin version of you. Definitely, Jackie, definitely not your happy self. Definitely not your happiest self when the gremlin voice is in control. So, what does it mean to be CEO of your life? What do we mean when we say that? It means a lot. And this is why it can be scary and it can be a hard shift to make. Because when you are CEO, like what's the CEO responsible for? When you are positioned as the CEO of your company, and in this case, your company is your life, you are responsible for everything. Everything. You are now the chief financial officer. You are now the chief revenue officer. The chief revenue officer in some organizations is just head of sales. You're the chief marketing officer. You're the head of customer success or customer satisfaction. You're the head of operations, engineering, productivity, everything. You own everything. Now, when you step into being the CEO of your life, it doesn't mean you don't get help. It doesn't mean you don't have experts and a support system that helps you with these sub roles. But it does mean that at the end of the day, you are the ultimate decision maker. Quality control. Yeah, absolutely, Joyce. Quality control is 100% in the hands of the CEO. Someone else may help you with your quality control, but you own it. You decide what's happening in your life. You decide what you're doing with your money. You decide how you're spending your time. You decide where you are focusing your energy. You make those choices, and those choices drive the vision. They drive your strategic planning. They drive your confidence. They drive your quality control of your life. Absolutely. And those decisions establish and hold the boundaries you are willing to keep. When we step into this role for the first time, because we're not used to it, there's a ton of things we don't know. There's a ton of things we don't know because we've never made these choices before. We've never looked at that decision before. Those of you who have been on some of my master classes have heard me tell the story that right after my divorce, I was left in a house where there was no art on the walls. And it seems like such a silly thing, but I didn't know what I wanted to put on the walls. I did not know what art style I liked. I loved going to art galleries. I've always been a little bit of a museum nerd. I love that, but it didn't mean that I had a style in my house, because the only style I had in my house was that combined style with my husband. And I only learned after he moved out how much of that style was actually all his. It was all his. We don't know. You guys heard me talk about this last week. Rivka Schreiber, the certified financial planner, who's joining me for a masterclass tomorrow, she helps women manage their money. Right? We don't have a huge education out there around money necessarily. It's not taught very well in schools, certainly not in high school. There are probably classes in college, but you've got to proactively sign up for them, which means you have to know what you don't know to know that you need that class, right? So there's a lot of gaps in our education. I bought this house this past year, as you all know. I was messing around. I have a gas fireplace that I was messing around with. I don't know how to fix that. I didn't know how to fix some of the outlets that weren't working in my house, and paid an electrician to come in to show me that if I flipped this switch, those outlets would work. You don't know what you don't know. And we feel embarrassed. We feel embarrassed. We feel ashamed. We feel like we should know. Quick tip. Not entirely related to the subject, but quick tip. Anytime in your head you are using the phrase should, you are judging yourself. Stop it. Just stop it. You are judging yourself. Should is a judgment. I should know this. I should do this. Trust me, it's not a motivator. It makes us feel guilty. It makes us feel embarrassed. It makes us feel shame. It makes us feel bad. Whenever we use the word should, it is a judgment. So just when you catch yourself saying it, knock it out of your vocabulary. But that is the point. When we step into this role as CEO and we look around at all the things we're responsible for, we go, I should know this. But you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Why should you know everything? There isn't a CEO out there who's running some company who knows all of it. It is why we find resources to help us get jobs done. It is why, if you guys, any of you working in corporate America now, you have a CEO. Your CEO has an executive team. That's what they're there for. That's what they're there for. But it does not. Having resources, having a partner, a parent, a cousin, a brother, a son, a daughter, a wife, whatever, having those partnerships in your life to help you manage does not abdicate you from the responsibility of being the CEO. The CEO of your company is still the one it all rolls up to when things go sideways in your business. It doesn't matter what the head of sales did. It doesn't matter what the vice president of operations did. The CEO is still responsible. And this is true in your life as well. This is true in your life too. So if you are going to make this shift, if you're ready to make this, how many of you are ready? How many of you are ready to make the shift? Just drop a Y or say yes in the chat. Are you ready to make the shift to being the CEO? Are you ready to own every aspect of your life? Like I said, it's not like you're not going to get help, but are you ready to own it? Are you ready to step in and say, good, bad, and different, this belongs to me? Awesome. Sue and Jackie are, and I will take it. Me too, which is why this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart and top of my mind these days. When we make this shift, It's a mindset shift. Our behaviors, we don't act like CEO until we start changing the way that we think about it. Which means, I said we were going to talk about five moves, right? 5 moves that get you to that winning position of CEO. The 5 moves. The first one starts with challenge what's going on up here, right? Move number 1 is challenge the limiting beliefs, challenge the negative self-talk. Because the limiting beliefs say things like, we talked about this last week on the money one, right? I don't know anything about money. I'm not good with money. I'm not good with money. Therefore, I will never be good with money. I don't make enough money now. Therefore, I will never make enough money to do what I want to do. Our limiting beliefs might be, I'm not a good house cleaner. Therefore, I will never have a clean house, right? The limiting beliefs are beliefs we hold on to where we stop ourselves from ever stretching, ever attaining more, achieving more, or doing something different. So we have to challenge that. We have to catch ourselves in a limiting belief that says, I believe this blanket statement, and therefore it can't be done. And the way that we challenge the limiting belief is that we ask questions. We ask questions. And the number 1 question that you can ask yourself is to say, what is real right now? What is real right now? If I put a limiting belief out there that, I have a couple I was trying not to use another money example. So I'm going to move out of money, and I'm going to put a limiting belief out there that there are no good single men left in my age group, over 50. I hear that actually a lot from women in my circle, friends and women that I know. There are no good men left. That's a limiting belief. Who says, how true is that? And we go, oh, of course it's true. I've seen the dating apps. I've seen the pictures. I've seen, I've met people. Everybody I know is married. How true is that really? The way we challenge our limiting beliefs is we drill down into how true is that really? How true is that right now? Prove it. I'll prove the opposite. Okay. If it's not true, I have to be able to name 3 men I know who are single. Can I do that? Right? We challenge ourselves. So if our example is money, then I'm terrible with money. Are you terrible with money? Of course, I've never been great with money. It goes right through my fingers. Okay. What's true right now? Well, what's true right now is I want to make different choices with my money. Okay. What are you doing right now that's bad with money? Well, right? It does 2 things when we go through the questioning process. Is 1, it really does make us slow down and examine that limiting belief. And by slowing down and examining that limiting belief, it raises our awareness around what is real right now. The limiting belief is a pattern, just like all our other patterns of going to school and making good grades and making sure everybody's comfortable and everybody feels okay and that we're doing what others want us to do, right? Along with that pattern, these limiting beliefs are also baked in. So when we slow down and ask the question, we not only raise awareness around, oh, is this just a pattern of thought I've carried forever? So we raise our awareness around that, but we also come up with other answers. We come up with other alternatives to what is real right now or what could be true right now. So number 1, you have to challenge the self-talk. You have to stop the negative self-talk and say, okay, what is true and what is real right now? Move number 2, you're going to be CEO of your life. Guess what? You're going to start digging into areas of your life that maybe you haven't dug into before. Maybe you haven't spent a lot of time on the mechanics of your home and how it works, or your car and how it works, or how you are thinking about your career or how you're launching a business, right? Maybe you haven't put a ton of time and energy into how that actually all works. On top of that, when we're going to be truly dynamic CEOs and we're going to be the best we can be, we have to, move number 2, change what you're feeding your brain. Change what you are feeding your brain, because when we listen to more educational, inspirational, motivational type works, can't think of the word, podcasts, ebooks, whatever it is, or watching documentaries or things like that, when we feed our brain interesting information, relevant information, we actually inspire more action and motivation. We inspire ourselves by listening to the stories, by participating in the actions of others who are doing the thing we want to do, or who are showcasing a characteristic that we admire. Now, that is not to say you don't get to enjoy the bubblegum. That's not to say you should never watch another Marvel movie. You shouldn't go Netflix and binge sometimes. We absolutely should, because we all need a mental break. But as a CEO, you are going to consciously start feeding your brain. And as a really smart CEO, some of the things you're going to consciously feed your brain with are going to be opposing points of view, opposite points of view. We get so locked into our own patterns and our own thoughts. And whether we're talking about politics for opposing points of view, whether we're talking about ways to manage our money, whether we're talking about how we raise our children, whether we talk about how to become rich and famous even, you read opposing points of view to give yourself the most well-rounded view so that you are making your choice and not going along with someone else's expectation. So move number 2 is change what you're feeding your brain. Move number 3, every day, every single day, set your priorities and set your intentions. Be clear. What is my priority for today? What is the one thing I have to get done today to move my vision forward, to move my strategic plan forward, to move the life that I'm envisioning for myself and that I am creating as CEO? What's the one thing I can do today to move that forward? What are my intentions for how I'm going to navigate through the day? Maybe you know that on this particular day, you have a meeting with somebody who maybe is a little bit challenging at work, difficult personality. What's your intention for that meeting? How do you show up as your best self for that meeting? High performers, high-performing people, women, dealing with women here, high-performing women and CEOs have clear priorities and they set their intentions. Now, what can help you do this? What helps you set an intention? What helps you understand or just choose? What helps you choose what your priorities are? You can meditate. Take time in the morning, clear your head, set your intention, and set your priority for the day. Meditation is my favorite. But you can also write it down. Some of you might be journalers, so journal it. If you're not a journaler, that's okay. You don't have to journal it. Maybe you write it down on your calendar for the day. Maybe you put it in your schedule. Maybe you do sticky notes. I work with a couple clients who love their sticky notes. And so every day a sticky note comes out. What's my priority for the day? Sticky note number 1. What are my intentions for the day? Maybe there's 2 or 3 more sticky notes. But you write it down. There is a very real connection between what happens in our brain and what happens when we physically write things down that solidifies it. It crystallizes it in our head. So write it down. And I would also recommend, bonus tip, I would also recommend that you set reminders for yourself. If we get so busy, right? We get so caught up in the doing and the tactical things of the day that sometimes we forget, oh wait, what was my priority today? And oh damn, the whole day went by and I didn't get to that. Or I had this intention to show up as this thoughtful, grounded, calm person in that meeting with Bob, but then Bob really pissed me off and that calm, thoughtful person went away, right? So sometimes it's helpful to set reminders for yourself, and you can literally program them in your phone or put them in your calendar, but set reminders for what your priorities and what your intentions are for the day. So that's number 3, priorities and intentions. So we've got 1, right? 1, challenge your limiting beliefs. 2, change what you're feeding your brain. 3, set your priorities and intentions. all three of those things, you can do that every day. 4, get an outside perspective. I know. I just said, stop doing what everybody wants you to do. And I meant that. Don't do what everybody wants you to do. Sometimes we need an outside voice. Sometimes we get so spun up in circles in our head about what we think we want, what we think other people want, or if we're not caught in that loop, sometimes we don't know. Like I said earlier, we don't have experience with this particular area of our business unit, so I'm not sure what to do. I've never run sales before, so I'm not sure what might be the best decision. Now, I still need to choose what I think is best, but it would be really smart of me to go find somebody who's run sales before and ask them some questions. Find an objective voice, right? Find a mentor, find a coach, but find somebody who has some relevant experience and has some distance from you. And this is where you can go to friends and family. You can go to friends and family, but remember that when friends and family, as much as they cheer you on and as much as they want what's best for you, because of how they know you, they may have a slightly different angle to or agenda behind the advice that they give. So when you're truly looking for advice, find that outside perspective. If you have a good coach, the coach has no agenda. The coach, I tell this to my clients all the time. I don't care if you want to be CEO of Pepsi, right? You want to be CEO of a multi-billion-dollar global organization? Fantastic. We're going to go after that. You could turn around the next day and tell me you want to be CEO of your own dog grooming van. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to be CEO of your house and never work again? Fantastic. It's not my job as a coach, and it's not the job of any coach to judge what you want to do or drive you to a certain goal. It is our job to help you figure out, though, clarity of your plan and how you're going to get there. So find an objective voice, get some feedback, and then align that feedback with how you want to run your operations, how you want to run your business as a CEO. So that's 4. 5, nothing else works without 5. Nothing else works without 5. Can you guys guess what number 5 is? Crab bucket. Yes, Joyce, the crab bucket. Joyce is referring to number 4, getting the outside perspective. The crab bucket is the perspective that you've always had, right? It's all the crabs in your bucket. You've known them your whole lives, and they have a particular point of view, and they want you to stay in the bucket with them, but you want to be the crab who escapes. So you've got to find a voice. You've got to find a perspective outside the crab bucket to take into consideration. Okay, 5, nothing works if you don't take step number 5. And step number 5 is, drum roll, I don't have a drum, your self-care routine. I know, it's kind of a letdown, right? That I have to say that again and again and again. If you are not eating right, exercising right, finding a creative outlet for yourself, if you are not practicing some form of self-care, all the other pieces don't matter so much because they won't be as effective. We show up as our best selves when we take care of ourselves. And everybody's form of self-care is different. Some people need 10 hours of sleep. Some people need 6. Some people need lots of quality time with their friends, and some people just need a little bit of time, but as long as it's truly connected, they're happy. So there's no judgment on what your self-care routine looks like, but have one. CEOs have to be responsible for refilling their bucket of energy, because only when they refill their bucket of energy can they do the other things. Can they start challenging those limiting self-beliefs? Because when we're run down on energy, when we are run down and tired and feeling unwell physically because we're not exercising or we're eating junk food, or feeling unwell mentally because we haven't gotten the rest that we needed and it's been a stressful week, we don't challenge the negative self-talk. We buy into it. We fall into those old patterns. We don't feed our brain. Instead, we go eat the nacho cheese for whatever our entertainment is, instead of the good stuff that's going to motivate us and inspire us. We don't set our priorities intentions because we don't know what they are anymore. We can't keep a clear head. And we won't even get an outside perspective because we're just doing what people want us to do so that they get off our back. So 5, self-care routine. Figure out what works for you and prioritize that. So those are your 5 moves. You do them every day. You can do them starting today to move your mindset. Now, you even talk about how you showed up at work or what you do next tomorrow when you walk in the office, because you won't do things differently until you shift the mindset. We've got to change here in order for the behavior and the habits to follow. So, challenge your negative self-talk. Change what you're feeding your brain. Write down your priorities and your intentions every day. Be mindful, be intentional. Get an outside perspective when you feel stuck, or honestly, not even when you feel stuck, if you're just curious. But get an outside perspective. Practice a self-care routine. Those are your 5. All right. That is Training Tuesday for tonight. Before I let you go, tomorrow at noon, we have a masterclass. I know it's a different day and time, so if you're on the East Coast, grab your lunch, and if you're on the West Coast, grab a cup of coffee. But as I mentioned last Tuesday, Rivka Schreiber, the certified financial planner I'm working with, she and I are doing a masterclass tomorrow on money mindset. So this is all tied to how you become the CEO of your life. You see a theme I'm running with here? I'm running with this theme. But how you be the CEO of your life, how you master your money. And tomorrow's masterclass is starting with just debt management basics. I think that's where we're starting. So we're going to do it jointly. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just the money mindset, right? Where do we learn our money mindset from? What does it mean to us? How does it drive some of our behaviors? And then Rivka is going to get into, what does a debt management plan look like? How do you wrap your arms around that? You do not have to be in loads of debt for this to be an important education for you, or for this to even be relevant. Because what we're talking about, debt management is one piece of your entire financial plan. And your financial plan is one tool that is critical to your success as you create that vision for your life, right? You're CEO of your life. You are also the chief financial officer. You need a financial plan that supports where you are today and the where you want to go. So that's the piece. Rivka's going to talk tomorrow about the one pillar. I think she said there's 3 pillars, and the first is debt management. So that's what she's going to talk about tomorrow. So just come and get some great insights and some great advice and direction on debt management and money mindset tomorrow. We will have an amazing offer for you after that. I promise you, amazing offer with money mindset in mind and debt management in mind afterwards. So join us for the masterclass tomorrow. If you haven't registered yet and you would like the link, just drop the word masterclass in the comments. Masterclass in the comments. It is tomorrow, Wednesday, February 8th at noon Eastern time. So like I said, bring your lunch if you're on the East Coast and bring your coffee if you're on the West Coast. Would love to see you guys there. Don't miss this. And just remember, last parting word, if you're going to become the CEO of your life, it starts with your mindset. Your mindset has to change before your behavior changes. So once you start thinking like you're the CEO of your life, you will start acting like the CEO of your life. All right, ladies, have a fantastic night. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you all at lunchtime tomorrow.